How dare they say that they're not attending today? And what do they have to hide?
Swirho swa Parliamente va dye makala hi matikhomelo ya khampani ya G4S. Eskom ma lava ku susiwa eka nawu wa vulawuri bya timali ta mfumo PFMA. Kasi eka mitlangu vaaki va masipala wa Nelson Mandela Bay va ta tiphina hi mitlangu ya xibakele ku nga ri khale. Baka hina lawa i mahungu ya Xitsonga eka channel ya Mahungu ya SABC eka DTT in Nhlekani. Swirho swa komiti ya swa makhotsi ePalamende va sole swinene ku tsandzeka ka khampani ya vurindzi bya makhotsi ya G4S ku ta nyika tinhlamuselo mayelana ku baleka ka Thabo Bester ekhotsweni. G4S va rhumele ntsena gqwetha leri komiti va nga ala leswaku a nyika xiviko. Mutshamaxitulu u hundzisele emahlweni ntshamo ku fikela loko G4S va ta ePalamende.
Xirho xa komiti Steve Swart yena wo sungula ku bumabumela leswaku ntshamo wu hundziseriwa emahlweni ku fikela loko khampani ya vurindzi ya makhotso ya G4S yi ta ePalamende.
How dare they say that they're not attending today? And what do they have to hide? Well, we will summons them. But we want to send a message very clearly that we are resolute and determined to get to the bottom of this.
Kubuye ku fika gqweta ra khampani ya G4S loyi nga vula leswaku a va rhambiwanga ximfumo eka ntshamo lowu.
G4S certainly hasn't meant any disrespect to this committee. G4S didn't firstly directly receive any invitation, but incidentally on Saturday heard from BCC, who was invited, that this meeting was to take place, but G4S didn't directly receive any invitation and wasn't aware that any presentation would be required from it. Now, G4S is very keen to assist this committee, but my mandate is to explain why precisely it's unable to do so without a summons.
Kambe swirho swa Palamende a va ba va khala khasa.
Is there something that G4S is hiding from us that we require to know, that we require to go to an extent of someone in there to come here? We understand all those contractual things that they would have made an indication of, Chair. I just want to understand, is G4S admitting that there was a breach of contract between them and DCS? That's why they seek immunity from this whole process. Just the clarity from the legal representation, Chair.
Why didn't they write it in this letter to say that they will be sending their legal representatives to come and eavesdrop here and hear what we are about? Chair, this matter is a matter of national importance. It's a very sensitive matter. It's not a matter to be played with. In actual fact, G4S is contracted to the department. The department was supposed to deliver them here. We can't be disrespected like that to say now they must get immunity from responsibility, to quote his own words. Why would you say I want to be immunized? I need immunity from responsibility when you know you've done nothing wrong. You would have come here, put your cards on the table and explain yourself. Everything else will take it from there, but you want to be immunized. You want guarantee that there will be no consequences to what you disclose or you say. It's very disingenuous.
It is critically important for the credibility of this process that G4S, who is the main role player, appears first. And then, from whatever they answer to my colleagues' questions, we will then be in a better position to pose questions to yourself, to the National Commissioner and other role players. So I must insist that we want to question G4S first, before anyone else.
Holobye wa vululami Ronald Lamula na yena u sole swinene ku tsandzeka ka G4S ku ya eka ntshamo wa Palamende.
Today I have a meeting with the President. It was my allocated date in terms of our MTSF targets for all ministers that the President is meeting individually since the beginning of the week. And today is the date of the security cluster. So the President agreed that we could meet him later in the evening, in particular myself, at 8. So I am also very disappointed that we could not be able to proceed. But we want to assure the committee of our commitment to come at any day that you will summon us, because we believe that it is in the public interest that the public knows what we knew, what happened, and what is going on in terms of capturing the fugitive that has escaped from our facility. So as soon as you summon us, we commit that we will definitely return and account to the nation. The only dilemma we also have, Chair, which maybe I suspect from reading from the inspecting judge, is that we on a daily basis receive media inquiries to respond to what did we know and so forth. And we had thought that us accounting into this house will also help to clarify the media, but it will also free us to also comment and so forth. But we are hopeful that you will soon invite us so that we are also free to comment, because we also don't want to look like we're disrespecting the committee when we are now seen only dealing with the media inquiries, responding and not coming to the House. So we commit that we will definitely come back on whatever date that you summon us to come back.
mutshamaxitulu wa komiti u vuye a pfala ntshamo ku fikela loko G4S va ta fika eka ntshamo.
Nhloko ya ndzawulo ya timali wo khomela Ismail Momoniat u veke erivaleni xiboho xa ku pfumela Eskom ku tlula xiyenge xo karhi eka nawu wa mafambiselo ya mali ya mfumo. Eskom yi pfumeleriwe leswaku yi nga paluxi mali leyi tirhisiwaka swi nga fambi hi nawu. Eskom yi endle xikombelo lexi va vula leswaku minkarhi yin'wana nawu wu va tsandzekisa ku endla mintirho ya xihatla leyi bohaku. Va ri leswi nyanyisa swiphiqo eka mphakelo wa gezi. A hi ro sungula ku tekiwa xiboho xa muxaka lowu. Lembe leri nga hela ku tekiwa xiboho xo fana eka Transnet. Hofisi ya timali yi ri leswi i ku veka tirhelo rin'we leri hinkwavo va faneleke ku ri landzelela.
Basically, if you look at Eskom and Transnet, they already have the highest accounting standards for their financial statements. They have to do the so-called IFRS, and they have to report in terms of the JSE rules because of their bonds and so on. But in addition, what happens is the PFMA has provisions that some of them relate to transgressions against particular laws and so on that may or may not be of a financial nature. And so we're saying when it's not material and it's not related to corruption, they still have to report it, but in their annual report. And they're exempted from doing so in their financial statements. Because what's happening is that they tend to get qualified when other companies won't be qualified because of those minor transgressions that you have in the system. And after state capture, we found that there's such a build-up of these. It then impacts on their ability to fund, and they come back to the fiscus for more funding.
Loko va vulavula na SABC mawani lembe leri nga hela khale ka mulawurinkulu wa Eskom u byele komiti ya Parliamentary hi laha a hlangana ha kona hi mhaka leswi a swi hlwela ku kuma mpfumelelo wo endla mintirho yo karhi.
I had no proper appreciation of the enormous bureaucracy that affects an organization like Eskom, from a procurement perspective, from a liquidity perspective, from a governance perspective. To give an example, up until recently, to appoint a contractor, we had to go through 8 separate committees. That's now been reduced to 3, but it's still far more onerous than anything that you'd experience in the private sector. My record for the lowest amount for which I had to approach National Treasury for approval is 70,000 Rand. Now, if as the chief executive of a very large industrial corporation, I have to write a letter to National Treasury asking, please, can I sign for 70,000 Rand? You can imagine how slow that process is. So I think there's a lot of well-intentioned governance, but as increasingly we've heard also from cabinet ministers, the red tape has got to a point where it's really slowing us down to a complete standstill.
Huvo ya mabindzu ya vantima va vona xiboho lexi ku ri ku sirhelela director tanihileswi a nga landzeleli nawu wa matirhiselo ya mali ya mfumo. Huvo yi lava nhlengeletano ya xihatla na holobye bya timali Enoch Godongwana ku kanela mhaka leyi.
The intention of the PFMA is to make sure that the findings is to make sure that the expenditure, fruitless expenditure, wasteful expenditure is disclosed so that the public can see how ESCOM or any other organ of state utilizes the public funds. So by exempting ESCOM, you are actually saying they must go and do bad things and not disclose them. So you're actually encouraging bad governance. And then we've seen the note that is trying to explain this, but it's very contradicting itself, because it says this will be disclosed in the annual reports, but not in the annual financial statements. But any funder who wants to fund any organ of state, they're going to read both the financial statements and annual reports.
Nhlangano wa AUTA va ri hambi leswi xiboho lexi kongomisiweke ka ku fikelela leswinene xa vilerisa loko swi ta ka timhaka ta ESCOM, va ri a ku na vutshembeki ka timhaka ta ESCOM.
The reason why this has now created this storm is that really we just don't trust. You know, it is what is this all about? What are we hiding, and why are we doing it? So yes, ESCOM should be able to run the business in the best interest of ESCOM and then South Africa. But then on the other hand, why do we have these regulations? Shouldn't we look at the reasons therefore, instead of just exempting ESCOM from reporting on especially irregular and fruitless and wasteless expenditure?
It could be argued that this should have been approached with a lot more caution by government and ESCOM, due to the fact that there are so many questions and red flags concerning corruption at ESCOM and the inability of government and ESCOM to deal decisively with this corruption and the questions that are hanging around this. And I think that ESCOM and Treasury will need to provide a lot more clarity on this to instill confidence in the market on this exemption, and the fact that it won't be abused or used to evade further accountability or to open the door for more corruption.
Ndzawulo ya timali yi ri matirhiselo hinkwawo yo biha swa timali swi fanele ku paluxiwa hi vuenti eka xiviko xa ESCOM lembe na lembe. Nhlangano lowu nga riki wa mfumo wo kondletela ku tirha ku ya hi vumbiwa CASAC wu lava leswaku nhlayo ya tihofisi leyi tivekaka hi chapter 9 ti hungutiwa. CASAC va ri ku fanele ku simekiwa khomixini yin'we leyi nga ta tirha na timfanelo hinkwato ta vanhu. Enkarhini wa sweswi ku na tihofisi to hlaya leti pfunaka vaakatiko ku vuyeriwa hi timfanelo ta vona ku ya hi vumbiwa. CASAC va byele Palamende leswaku leswi kanganyisa vaakatiko.
Xiviko xa ASMAL xi humesiwe hi 2007 laha xi nga rhumeriwa ePalamende ku va xi langutisiwa hi huvo ya chapter 9. Hambiswiritano, xiviko a xi se khomiwa ku ta fika sweswi. Sweswi ku na mavonelo yantshwa leswaku ku endliwa khomixini ya timfanelo ta ximunhu leti nga ta tiyimela hi toxe. Khomixini yi ta tlhela yi tirha na swiphiqo swo ringanisiwa ka rimbewu, ririmi na timfanelo ta ndhavuko.
The argument for a sort of overarching portfolio committee on chapter 9 is to ensure that the reports from all of these bodies receive due attention by Parliament, and that Parliament takes up the issues and the recommendations that they make.
CASAC yi ri tana tindlela leti nga ta hunguta ku kopiwa na ku tlhela va tiyisa leswaku ku na ndhawu leyi vanhu va nga ta veka kona swirilo. Va tlhela va tiyisa leswaku ku na switirhisiwa swo ringanela. Swihatetano van'wana va ri va lava leswaku milawu ya xinto ya Afrika yi rhangisiwa emahlweni.
If the law that we have is not grounded in African values, and which are, by the way, very accommodative. If the law is not grounded in African values, then we should forget about our heritage. We may speak English, a lot of it, which is not our language, may read a lot of books, but in the end, we are going to be judged wrongly that we failed to do what ought to have been done. African solutions for African problems. It's not a political statement, it's a very legal statement.
Chidi o ri milawu ya xinto yi fanele ku tirha eka vanhu hinkwavo laha tikweni ku nga ri eka tikomiti ntsena.
This notion that African law cannot apply to, people who settled in this country and continue to come and settle in the country, that notion should be done away with. I mean, if they can have their law applied to us, why can't we? I mean, there's our country, and that is the understanding of the Africana Justice Association.
Komiti yi amukele swiviko hinkwaswo leswi nga rhumeriwa ePalamende.
Ndhawu ya rihanyo ya Eastern Cape yi karhi ku endlela vaaka ndhawu va le Port St Johns lava nga wela hi khombo ra ndhambi vhiki leri nga hundza. Vanhu vo tala va ha ri hava ndhawu yo tshama.
Vaaka ndhawu vo tala lava hlaseriweke hi ndhambi leyi onheke swinene va ha tshama etiholweni ta vaaka ndhawu. Ku ni nhlayo ya le henhla ya vadyuhari ni vantshwa lava khumbekaka eka ndhambi a va lahlekeriwanga hi nhundzu ya vona ntsena kambe ni mabasi, switifiketi swa ku velekiwa, makhadi ya le tliliniki ni ya mudende. Ku nghenelela loku ku va pfune swinene.
I came to get food parcels so that I can eat with my children. Plus, I would like you to come and see my home. I was unable to come here earlier as I was sick due to the flood water that came inside my house and threw my door away. My bed was also flooded and I had to move it at night and take it outside.
We lost a bit of blankets, a bit of mattresses, cooking gear, food, but not that effective. It was more of a flash flood.
Ndzawulo ya rihanyo yi tirhela ha masiku manharhu lama hundzeke. Xiyenge xo kala xi nga ri xa mfumo na xona I xiphemu xa matshalatshala yo phalala.
We were informed about those whose medication has been destroyed and swept away. Hence, we intervened on the spot to give, in particular, the chronic medication. We are still in a process of ensuring that the immunization cards or road to health cards of the young ones are being reissued. It's a process that we shall follow. We have since given an instruction that instead of them, as the arrangement was earlier, going to the nearby CHC, the CHC must come to the people.
Our understanding from the engagement that we had with the MEC of Health is that in as much as they are offering medical intervention, some of the victims, they do not have food, and some of their medications, it is a basic requirement that they should take the medication after meals. And we thought that we should, as part of our intervention, it should include the food pack, also the hygiene pack.
Tindhawu tin'wana ti tama ti nga fikeleleki hikwalaho ka ku onhaka ka magondzo ni mabiloho.
At this moment, we can clearly say there is relief that is coming. Relief in terms of food and blankets, but we also would like to say we are trying to make sure that the roads are also cleared, because there are still places where it is still inaccessible, like in the farms and other areas where the bridges have been cut off. So people are still busy doing that.
Ku fikela sweswi kuna kolomu ka 40 wa miako ya xinkarhana yo rhurhela lava nga hava makaya lava katsaka mukhegula wa 101 wa malembe hi vukhale.
Vatshami va le ka masipala wa Salt Lake eNorthern Cape va nghene eka vhiki ra vumune swihambukelo swi nga halatiwangi. Tilori ta masipala a ti tangi ku ta rhwala swihambukelo swa mabakiti leswi ha tirhisiwaka endhawini liya. Va ri risema ra va dlaya.
Xiyimo xo chavisa lexi vangaka nxungeto ka rihanyo ra vanhu. Swivungu endzeni ka mabakiti leswi vangaka risema ro chavisa. Vaakatiko va le ku xanisekeni. Masipala wu ni n'hweti wu nga landzi mabakiti lawa. Muakatiko wa le Lerato Park, Elzanian Steenkamp eKimberley u vula leswaku xiyimo lexi xi xungeta rihanyo ra vona. Van'wani va cukumeta thyaka leri erivaleni leri nga kusuhi.
And the challenges we have here with that thing is everybody is using it. Okay, so everybody passing here just go into the toilet and use it, and then it's full, and at the end of the day it's germs, and we also have our own toilets, but it's also buckets. And the thing is, sometimes when they come to empty the buckets, they are refusing, or let's say they have an attitude towards us.
Vaakatiko va hlamusela swirilo swa vona hi xiyimo lexo chavisa lexi va langutaneke na xona.
It's a big problem. How will you lose a toilet that they have worms inside?
We don't see municipality came people who are servicing toilets. We don't see them anymore, and there is worms at the toilets now. We don't understand what is the problem in it. It will affect our kids, our women, and we also will be affected.
Masipala wu vula leswaku xiyimo lexi wa xi tiva naswona wu le ku laveni ka kontiraka leyi nga ta tirhana no susa thyaka leri.
There were 2 contractors that were appointed to service the toilets of that area. The previous contractor's contract then came to an end. We are, however, in the process of appointing another contractor who will service the affected area.
A swi tiveki leswaku kontiraka leyi yo susa thyaka yi ta sungula rini. Eka nkarhi wa sweswi, vaaki va ta tshamisa sweswi ni thyaka leri.
Masipala wa Ekurhuleni wu ri wu le ku tirheni hi matimba ku rhwalela malakatsa hinkwawo etindhawini ta masipala. Va tshambele Ekurhuleni a va tsakangi hi malakatsa lama nga fumbana eswitarateni ngopfungopfu eKempton Park, eBenoni, eBoksburg, Germiston na le Tembisa. Tilori ta masipala a ti yangi ku ya rhwala malakatsa.
Malakatsa lawa ya tele hikuva se swi ri na mavhiki ya nga susiwi se ya susiwile. Lori ya malakatsa se ya eka tindhawu to hambanahambana Ekurhuleni, kambe swin'wana swa switarata swa ha thyakile hi mabodhlela lawa ya nga fayeka na maphepha. Vaaka ndhawu a va yi twisisi mhaka leyi. Va lava ku twisisa ku hikokwalaho ka yini vukorhokeri bya nkoka tanihi ku basisa ndhawu byi nga tekeriwi enhlokweni.
Nganyama feel terrible, very painful, because if I take you back, this country we're not like this.
I can say they're trying, but then again it seems like it's getting worse. So I don't know what's causing that. Is it too little manpower or...
Vamasipala wa Ekurhuleni va ri kungu ra vona loko swi ta eka ku basisa ndhawu ri sungule ku tswala mihandzu. Vhiki leri nga hundza vaaka ndhawu va Tembisa va humesele matitwelo ya vona ehandle hi ku vula leswaku a va se tshama va swi vona leswi va tsan'wisiwaka xiswona. A va koxa leswaku khale ka meyara wa Metro Tania Campbell a susiwa exitulwini. Mukhanselara wa DA u pfariwe hi Sivuyile Ngondwana wa AIC endzhaku ko hluriwa eka vubumabumeri.
One of the major issues we had was with 8 of our mini dump sites. One of the contractors on site wasn't performing their duties, and subsequently we pulled in our legal department and we're in the process of cancelling the contract, but we have capacitated our own staff and equipment to make sure that we've cleared those sites. Those sites really help with the transfer of waste to other areas.
Un'wana wa vahleri va tipolitiki u ri ku tikeriwa eka swivandla swa swirho swa mavandla lawa ya tirhaka kun'we swi endla leswaku ku pfumaleka vukorhokeri emetro hinkwayo. U ri hi ko tala ku va ku lweriwa ka swivandla a swi vangiwi ngopfu hikuva ku ri na ku navela ku pfuna vanhu, kambe va lava switirhisiwa leswi enelaka ku va ku hakeriwa mapfhumba ya nhlawulo.
It seems that this system is not working as well as we expected it to, but it could very well be also that the ANC will be the beneficiary out of this, because next time people vote, they will think about the instability that they are seeing and the going down of service delivery that they are seeing, and compare in the past 29-30 years when the ANC was ruling alone, uncontested, that there was much development that took place at that time.
Mavandla lawa ya tirhaka kun'we ya endla swi nga olovi ku va vandla leri nga byara vutihlamuleri eka vukorhokeri bya karhi ri yimela ku hluleka ka rona.
Vandla ra EFF va kombela swirho swa palamende na kabinete eUganda leswaku va nga pfumeleli nawu wo yirisa vanhu vo rhandzana hi rimbewu rin'we etikweni leriya. Vandla ri macheri ya kombisa ku vilela etihofisi ta vuyimeri bya mfumo wa Uganda ePitori. Palamende ya Uganda yi se yi pasise nawumbisi wo yirisa no xupula vanhu vo rhandzana hi rimbewu rin'we. Ku sale leswaku President Yoweri Museveni a sayina nawumbisi ku va nawu.
The reason the EFF is doing this is because EFF is a protest movement, and we will protest for anyone who's oppressed and disfranchised and marginalized. That's what we do. And our slogan is that if one of us is not free, then all of us are not free. So basically, we are calling for the president in Uganda, President Museveni, to not sign that bill into law. We are calling for him to please educate his cabinet on the queer lives and basically what homosexuality is, and basically the whole LGBTQI community, what it's about. Because I think that there's a disconnect between African leaders and the lived experience of people who are marginalized and disenfranchised, mainly women and queer people with disabilities, for instance. So we're calling for them to educate themselves and also start putting up laws that advocate for healthcare for people who want to go through gender reconstruction, any of those health issues that we speak about. In our memorandum, we talk about that we want for them to start having finer and more stricter laws that affect those who do so-called transformative, what is it? It's called corrective rape. So we're trying to conscientize basically the African continent on the ramifications of having this bill, because this is a hate crime. This law is very draconian. It's a very old law. It doesn't make sense in this day and age when Africa should be focusing on more important things such as the economy of Africa, such as the trade in this continent, such as many of the issues that we are facing as Africa. This should never be a law that we're speaking about now. We should be speaking of progressive issues that Africa is facing, issues that affect everybody. How is it affecting you, my being queer? It doesn't affect anyone. We protested now recently against ESCOM and we had electricity for a couple of days. So you cannot say that what we're doing now is not effective. It has an effect in some way, and we're not just stopping from here. We're going to keep on protesting and keep fighting for the marginalized and the disfranchised.
Hi se mahlweni mahungu ya SABC. Khale ka President wa America Donald Trump a karhi a tihlanganisa na magqwetha eNew York tanihiloko a langutane na swihehlo swo hlaya. Swin'wana swa swihehlo swa milandzu ehenhla ka Trump i ku hakela Stormy Daniels ku n'wi pfala nomo. Daniels i mutlangi wa tifilimi ta swa masangu loyi a vuriwaka ku va a vile na vuxaka byo tano na Trump. Ku languteriwe leswaku vaseketeri va Trump va ta ya kombisa ku vilela ecourt ya le New York. Meyara wa doroba leriya u lemukise leswaku lava va nga ta va nga hasahasa va ta pfaleriwa.
While there may be some rabble-rousers thinking about coming to our city tomorrow, our message is clear and simple. Control yourselves. New York City is our home, not a playground for your misplaced anger. We are the safest large city in America because we respect the rule of law in New York City. And although we have no specific threats, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is known to spread misinformation and hate speech, she stated she's coming to town. While you're in town, be on your best behavior. As always, we will not allow violence or vandalism of any kind. And if one is caught participating in any act of violence, they will be arrested and held accountable, no matter who you are.
Bandla ra SACP ri byela mfumo ku hatlisa ku tshika ku va xirho eka khoto ya matiko eThe Hague eNetherlands. Leswi ta endzhaku loko khoto yi humise xileriso xa leswaku President wa Russia Vladimir Putin a khomiwa. Nhlengeletano ya bandla leri fumaka tiko ANC 2017 yi bohe leswaku mfumo wa Afrika-Dzonga wu tshika ku va xirho eThe Hague. SACP a va tipfinyingi hi xikombelo xa vona. Vandla ri lava leswaku President wa Russia Vladimir Putin a pfumeleriwa ku nghenela nhlengeletano ya BRICS hi Mhawuri laha tikweni. Leswi ta endzhaku loko khoto ya matiko ya misava va humese samanisi ra ku khomiwa ka Putin mayelana na vugevenga bya timfanelo ta ximunhu eUkraine.
Why they want to disrupt a proper convening of the BRICS summit in this country. Not much about President Putin. They are fearing what BRICS is becoming. An alternative of this new multipolar world emerging against the unipolar world imposition by the United States and its friends in Europe.
SACP va lava leswaku Afrika-Dzonga ri tihumesa ka vuxirho bya ICC.
On the issue of the ICC, what the General Secretary is saying is that we are accusing the ICC of double standards and selective justice. That's our position. And when he mentions this, a number of countries, even on your own research, where are the weapons of mass destruction which they were looking for in the Middle East? None, after they destroyed that particular country. After thousands of people were killed, why were they not held to account? If you look at Libya today, the government's in crisis. Emergence of rival governments and even heightened factionalism in that particular country. It's the destruction and how many people have died. But worse, it's when the United States is not a member of the ICC but wants to subject other countries to the ICC. That's really double standards.
Inflation. Vandla ri tlhela ri vilerisiwa hi ku tlakusiwa ka ntswalo wa vulomisi bya timali. Mapayila u ri xiboho lexi ta xanisa vanhu lava tirhaka.
The Augmented Central Committee was deeply concerned about the South African Reserve Bank Monetary Policy Committee's decision to increase the repo rate once more by 50 basis points in response to rising inflation levels. While the significance of price stability as derived from the SAB's mandate is in no dispute, it is equally important to note that the mandate also dictates that price stability should be maintained in the interest of balanced and sustainable economic growth. Therefore, this decision, which comes at the back of economic growth decline in the fourth quarter of 2022, as reported by StatSA, and rising unemployment, can hardly be considered balanced nor sustainable, and in no uncertain terms underscores the SAB's narrow focus on inflation in total disregard of the need to consider economic growth and employment in its monetary policy decisions. These punitive decisions against the working class and the poor particularly, it's unlikely to resolve inflation in South Africa, as the underlying cause of inflation is not demand-driven, and it's even induced by conditions beyond our control, like the war in Ukraine. By the SAB's own admission, the current inflation in South Africa is of a supply-side nature, that is, so-called cost-push inflation. The current rise in prices is fundamentally caused by the crisis of capitalist profitability. The immediate cause includes, amongst others, rising oil prices, supply-side constraints, load shedding, potential non-competitive behavior in food supply chains and other industries.
SACP va tlhela va vula leswaku va ta va xiphemu xa nhlawulo wa mani na mani wa 2024 hi swipimelo swintshwa swa vuxaka bya tipolitiki.
The ACC agreed to contest elections with an effective and reconfigured alliance as our preferred modality, as our posture towards the 2024 elections and beyond. By reconfiguration, we mean a common alliance commitment to defend and advance the national democratic revolution based on the vision of the Freedom Charter. In addition, we will engage alliance partners for a consensus around the following: a common analysis of the socio-economic conditions facing the working class and the poor, followed by a common socio-economic approach program, manifesto development and its joint implementation by an adequately inclusive alliance leadership in Parliament, in provincial legislatures, in Cabinet, provincial executive councils, municipal councils, and mayoral committees. Conduct of alliance candidates based on common alliance discipline during the campaign, as well as alliance public representatives and office bearers afterward. Provisions enabling elected SACP representatives to articulate independent perspectives in Parliament, provincial legislatures, and municipal councils within the framework of a reconfigured alliance. Accountability of elected alliance representatives, as well as of SACP members to the party, just as ANC members are expected to be accountable to the ANC and our people.
Loko swi teka mhaka ya papila leri nga tsariwa khale ka President Thabo Mbeki ri kongomisiwa ka xandla xa President Paul Mashatile, laha a solaka hi la ANC va nga fambisa hi kona mhaka ya purasi ra Cyril Ramaphosa ra Phalaphala, vandla ri vula leswaku ta endzela khale ka President Thabo Mbeki tanihi leswi ri tshembaka leswaku swin'wana swa leswi a nga swi tsala swa twala.
We will organize our own session with President Mbeki. We were told by the ANC Secretary General that possibly today the ANC officials will be having a discussion with President Mbeki. We will also seek our own engagement with President Mbeki. We also believe that President Beg has raised important issues in his letter, and that the issues that he has raised should not be dismissed.
Va tlhele va kombisa leswaku va ta va na ntirho hi musumbunuko wo tsundzuka 30 wa malembe hi mpfhuka murhangeri wa vona Chris Hani a dlawile.
This is out of
Ku na swivilelo swa leswaku mfumo wu nga ha tsandzeka ku tlakusa miholo ya vatirhela mfumo hi 7.5 wa tiphesente ku ya hi ntwanano lowu nga sayiniwa. Mali leyi a yi kona eka mpimanyeto. Ku vumbiwa leswaku 7.5 wa tiphesente swi ta dyela mfumo exikarhi ka 35 na 50 billion wa tirandi eka lembe ra 2023 ntsena.
Minhlangano ya vatirhela mfumo a yi hlongorisana na nkarhi wa leswaku va fikelela ntwanano na mfumo ku nga si fika lembe ximali rintshwa leri sungulaka n'hweti yaleyi. Minhlangano leyi yimelaka ku tlula 53 wa vatirhela mfumo ku katsa SAFTU na FEDUSA va fikelele ntwanano na mfumo.
The resolution comprised of 2-year agreements. The first year, 2023-2024, is a 7.5% increase that all public servants between level 1 and level 12 will receive an increase on it as from the 1st of April this year. And the second year is a projected CPI with no less than 4.5% to a maximum of 6.5% in 2024-2025. We all know that there are certain outstanding matters, including housing scheme, including medical aid, which we believe that as part of the resolution, we will immediately after this particular resolution prioritize to conclude a housing scheme for public servants.
Leswi swo swinene hi kosatu lava vulaka leswaku 9.5 wa tiphesente swi hoxekile.
We want to inform our collective membership and public servants as a whole that in actual fact, there is no 7.5 real increase that is offered by the employer at the PSCBC. It is a shameless lie that is sold to the workers by the employer and their suited unions. This 7.5% comes from the 4.7, which amounts to 14 billion that was already allocated as cash gratuity, but this time converted into the salary baseline together with an additional 2.8% adjustment for 2023-2024 year. In other words, the employer is basically making an offer of about 2.8% to the public service unions at the PSCBC.
SAFTU wa vula leswaku tipenchini ta vatirhi na tona ti khumbekile va karhi ku ta na makungu yantshwa.
The main unpleasantness coming from our members is on the basis of the fact that they are not going to be able to afford. But also we have pointed out, and they agree with us on this point, that their pension funds of pension fund contributions have actually also suffered. And in 2021-2022, there was nothing. In 2022-2023, there was nothing. So for consecutive 3 years, pension funds have suffered greatly. Of course, this year, because that cash gratuity is translated into a pensionable salary increase on the baseline, that is the only time they will. But in the past 3 years, such particular salary pension contributions have really suffered. And as a result, workers are not very happy with that.
Muti wa ikonomi uri ku tlakusiwa ka miholo swi ta tisa ntshikelelo eka nkwama wa tiko.
Agreement reached between the government and public sector workers is much higher than what was budgeted for. It means that the fiscus will be under pressure and the government will have to find the funds to pay the civil servants from reducing expenditure on other items and on other projects, because it's never a good idea to borrow funds to pay salaries.
Minhlangano yintsongo ya vatirhi leyi welaka ehansi ka COSATU na SAFTU veri va ta yisa emahlweni na nyimpi ya vona yo lwela timfanelo ta vatirhi hi ku kombisa ku vilela lembe hinkwaro.
Swi endla tin'hweti timbirhi ku nga ri na xikolo kumbe vukorhokeri bya vutshunguri eOrinoco eBushbuckridge. Vatshami va ndhawu liya va vilela hi xiyimo xo biha xa patu leri hlanganisaka miganga ya ndhawu liya. Va yise swivilelo swa vona eka ndzawulo ya magondzo ya Mpumalanga va koxa ku akeriwa patu rinene ra xikontiri.
Patu ra D4395 ri le ka xiyimo xo biha naswona ku ringana tin'hweti timbirhi tidyondzo ti yimile. Tliliniki ya le ndzawini liya na yona yi pfariwile. Vaaki va lava xikontiri va helekete papila ra vona ra swivilelo eka mfumo wa xifundzhankulu.
We've got one clinic which services probably more than 7 communities there, and we've got 8 schools that there are different people from different places who are coming there. So a tar road will be very good, and that place is serving the community in more diverse ways.
Ndzawulo ya mintirho ya vaaki, mapatu na vutleketli va yi tiva mintlhontlho leyi, kambe ku pfumaleka ka mali swi nga ha yimisa ku endliwa ka patu.
We are going to send our road maintenance team to ensure that they maintain that particular road, since we don't have budget for now to construct that road. However, we are going to make sure that in terms of designs and all the processes are going to take place. If we receive enough budget, then the road will be taken care.
Xifundzankulu xi salele ndzhaku eka ku maka mapatu, naswona timpfula leti ha ku va ka kona ti nyanyise xiyimo.
Ndzawulo ya vutleketli Western Cape yi tsundzuxa vachayeri eCape Town ku ya kambirisa movha ya vona mahala loko va lava ku teka tendzo to leha. Ku lulamisiwe tindhawu to kambela mimovha mahala edorobeni leriya. Leswi i xiphemu xa pfhumba ra vuhlayiseki emagondzweni emaheleni ya vhiki ku nga holiday ya Paseka. 36 wa vanhu va lovile emagondzweni ya xifundzankulu lexiya hi nkarhi wa Paseka lembe leri nga hela. Va lava ku hunguta mafu lembe leri.
Ku kambela mathayere, timboni, tibiriki, CV joints, tipompi ta mafurha, ti-wipers na license disc, xikan'we na hinkwaswo leswi endlaka leswaku vuhlayiseki byi va kona eka swipandzamananga emagondzweni. Swi na nkoka ku va vachayeri va tiyisisa leswaku mimovha ya vona yi ringanerile ku famba emagondzweni va nga se teka marendzo yo leha. Va ndzawulo ya maphorisa ya patu exifundzeninkulu va ri a ku na xo hemba hi xona tanihileswi leswi swi kumekaka mahala vhiki leri.
What we're launching today is our Easter safety launch campaign. You know, Easter weekend is coming up. And what we're trying to do, we're reducing road death. And the way we're reducing road death, by ensuring vehicles that are on the road safely. So what we're doing today, and what we've done in the last few days and going forward, is to ask people to please bring your vehicles, including taxis. Let us check in for you, let us look at it and see what's wrong with your vehicle and fix it before you get on the road.
Ku kavanyeteka ka swo famba swi ya ehenhla hi nkarhi wa ku wisa tanihileswi vanhu vo hlaya va tirhisaka swibazana ku va va famba marendzo yo leha Paseka leyi. Swirho swa vamathekisi kumbe Santaco eWestern Cape va kombele vamathekisi ku va va tirhisa nhlahla leyi ku kambela swo famba swa vona mahala.
In the past, we have had a lot of fatalities during our roads around this time, and we want to change that because it's critically important for us and our commuters, because it's our livelihoods, it's their livelihoods. We have to ensure that they get to their destination safe, and we want to encourage our operators to take this opportunity. Come and have your vehicles checked so that we can be guaranteed that our roads will be safe.
Ku karhala ka vachayeri hi swin'wana leswi vangaka tinghozi ta le magondzweni, naswona vachayeri va komberiwa ku yima no wisa endzhaku ka 200 wa tikhilomitara tin'wana na tin'wana. Ku dlawa ka van'wamilenge ka ha ri swona swivilelo leswikulu.
We constantly encourage people not to drink and drive, which is the right message. But 50% of the road death are pedestrian death, and those are individuals that are drinking and walking. So we're asking people, don't drink and walk, wear visible clothes, please use the proper pedestrian crossings.
Ku ta va na ku engeteriwa ka ku yimisiwa ka swo famba, naswona vachayeri va tsundzuxiwa leswaku varhangeri va ta tikisa ngopfu loko swi ta eka lava tlulaka nawu.
Machudeni ya vuongori lava nga eka lembe ro hetelela ra vuleteri ekholichi le Bloemfontein eFree State va pfale minyango ya muako wa kholichi. Va kombisa ku vilela hi mhaka leswi va nge a va tivisiwi leswaku va ta tirhela eka titliniki tihi loko va heta.
Ku pfumaleka ka vatirhi va swa vutshunguri i xivilelo lexikulu eswibedhlele ni le titliniki to tala ta mfumo. Leswi hi xitalo swi endla leswaku vaakatiko va hlwela ku kuma vukorhokeri bya vutshunguri ni tilayini to leha. Hambiswiritano vaongori va machudeni va vula leswaku va vilerisiwa hi ku a va tshembi leswaku va ta kuma ntirho. Ku tlula 50 machudeni ya lembe ro hetelela va lava leswaku ndzawulo ya rihanyo yi landzelela ntwanano wo sungula wu va nghenisa eka nongonoko wa vukorhokeri bya vaakatiko loko va heta tidyondzo ta vona. Huvo yo yimela machudeni yi ri a va nge yimi ku fikela va kuma nhlamulo leyi va yi lavaka. Ndzawulo yi ri mikanerisano ni machudeni yi ya emahlweni laha va tshembaka leswaku ku ta va na xitshunxo.
hi lengthen leswaku mahungu ya mitlangu ya yimise ku yini. Mutlangi wa le ndzhaku wa Mamelodi Sundowns Grant Kekana u ri xipano xa ha ri na swo tala swo tlangela swona hambileswi se va nga wina ligi. Sundowns va teke xidlodlo xa DStv Premiership nakambe hambileswi va haseleleke hi mitlangu ya nkombo eka nguva leyi. Va ta ya tlanga na Cape Town City eLoftus Versfeld mundzuku na madyambu.
Mamelodi Sundowns va tiyisise vunene bya vona loko swi ta eka bolo ya milenge ya laha kaya. The Brazilians va andzise matimu ya vona endzhaku ko wina ligi ya vundzeni hi ku landzelelana. Sweswi va teke xidlodlo xin'wana na xin'wana xa bolo ya laha tikweni kusukela hi nguva ya 2017-2018. Va teke swidlodlo swa 13 swa Premier Soccer League kusukela hi nguva ya 1996-1997. Sundowns va lava ku tshova matimu ya vona yo tleketla mikutlunya yo tala eka nguva. Xipano xa le Pitori xi teke xidlodlo hi mikutlunya ya 79 eka nguva ya 2015-2016.
We play each and every game to win, so it'll be the same going into the Cape Town City game. We don't want to get complacent. There's still a lot to play for. As much as we won the league, in the league there's things like records that we're willing to break and standards that we've set for ourselves in the beginning of the season to see if we can achieve them, and that's what will be motivating us to go on and keep winning games.
Swin'wana swipano swinharhu swa le henhla Orlando Pirates, Kaizer Chiefs na SuperSport United va nga fikisa 58 wa mikutlunya loko vo hlula mitlangu ya vona leyi va nga sala na yona. Cape Town City eka xivandla xa vuntlhanu va ta fikisa 54 loko vo hlula mitlangu ya nkombo.
Cape Town City is a good team. They're going to come out guns blazing, I think they'd also want to reach their targets of last season where they managed to finish second, so it's going to be another tough encounter, but another encounter that we'll prepare well for and give it another go.
Mudzaberi Rulani Mokwena u rhwexiwe sagwadi ra mudzaberi wa n'hweti ra vumbirhi eka tin'hweti nyenyenyani na nyenyankulu.
Congratulations, of course. I've always maintained that in football the most important thing is trophies, team trophies, team accolades, team recognition. And then the individual awards are only a fair reflection of the contribution of everybody.
The Brazilians va wine kota ya vunharhu ya logo kumbe Q3 Innovation endzhaku ko hlula mitlangu ya nkombo eka nhungu laha va nga tlanga ku ringana kan'we.
If you look at how difficult that period was, playing 8 games and 8 very difficult games against very good sides.
Sundowns va teke 22 wa mikutlunya ehenhla ka 24 wa leti a va ti tlangela eka mitlangu ya nhungu leyi nga hundza. Va howise tigolo ta 15 laha va nga koreliwa 4 ntsena eka mitlangu liya. Xipano xi tlanga kahle swinene na le ka CAF Champions League endzhaku ko fikelela ti-quarter final. Sundowns va hete va ri ehenhla eka Group B hi mikutlunya ya 14 laha a va hundza Al Ahly hi 4 wa yona.
Xitsutsumi xa 100 meters xa Afrika-Dzonga Karina Horn u lava ku ya endla leswi a nga swi endla ePotchefstroom ematikweni ya le handle. Horn u kombise vungwazi hi ku sirhelela xidlodlo xa yena eka mphikizano wa matsambu wa tiko wa Potchefstroom. U ta va xiphemu xa xipano xa Afrika-Dzonga eka mphikizano wa misava eBudapest, Hungary hi Mhawuri. Sweswi ya eka maxelo hi vona leswaku ya tshamiseke ku yini. ya namuntlha a hi tlheleni hi hlangana nakambe kona kwala enhlekani.